We have a guest speaker, and it is Karin Treager. She's from the Yarra Teachers Association, and I'll pass it over to Karin.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. So I'm the CEO for the Yarra River Keep Association. I've been working with the organisation for the last 2 years, and I'll share what we have done in the past 2 years that it's been helping us as an organisation to diversify funding, diversify audiences, especially getting the young population to interact and engage with what we do, but also trying to maintain the organisation sustainable as a way that we can get more funding in and make it grow and hopefully do more of the really good stuff that we do. So I'd like to acknowledge where we're actually standing. I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land. In this case, the Woonwurrung Nation from the Kulin Nation, the Woonwurrung people from the Kulin Nation. And I would like to pay much respects to the elders, past, present and emerging, and also to acknowledge that the Yarra River, it's also known as the Birrarung. Thank you. As I shared, I've been the CEO for the last few years. Before that, I was a volunteer for the organisation for 1.5 years, so always been engaged in picking up litter along the Yarra, and I was pretty much aware what was happening from an environmental perspective and also community point of view. My background, I'm a wildlife vet. I'm from Chile, I'm not from Melbourne, so I have that sort of outside point of view that when I came to Melbourne, I recognised that all my friends were telling me the Yarra River, it's gross and it's brown and it's smelly. I don't know how you keep running along the Yarra, it's not really nice. It's what are you talking about? It's actually really nice. I've been running along in the catchment for many years, so I've been here for 6 years now. Been doing ultra running events up in Warburton. We did a 50k run from Rifton all the way to Donabuan. That was me crossing the Yarra in one run, so being really engaged with that, and I can kind of seeing from really pristine areas up the Yarra to city that you can find all that trash in just 45 minutes, and it's kind of, well, why are we not having the same thing that Warburton has in the metro city area? But before I go deep into what the organisation is and what we do, I would like to share this as well. So we're part of this big global kind of network, which is called the Waterkeeper Alliance. It's based in the US, but what they do is they have around more than 300 different organizations around the world working in water advocacy, so either creeks, lakes, bays, rivers, etc. So how it works is that they give you a lot of training resources, but also a lot of support. And I think for us as an organisation, we've been around for 17 years, but I think what really made the game change was becoming part of their network, that we're not just by ourselves, we're actually working and advocating as a common group for fresh water, to be clean water, swimmable water, and hopefully, this is fishable, but it's more around maintaining that ecosystem health, that you can see fish still in the creeks and rivers, and that's the whole meaning. And there's a community of practice with different groups in Australia as well, so we meet once a month. And how it works is that we share what we're doing. If there's any kind of overlapping campaigns, we might form coalitions or groups of work. I might have some experiences I want to share, so we present, what we've been working on. And that kind of really brings a bit of, energy in the room, that you're working towards something that it's in common and you're not by yourself. Because I feel with a lot of groups, when you're kind of in your creek and you feel pretty isolated, maybe you're not having a lot of really good experience dealing with council or government or just community in general, it's very overwhelming. So I think the group itself, it's pretty good because we quite positive, quite noisy and reactive, but also pretty much supportive with each other. And also we connect with the US. So we got someone from the US on that call every month, and they might share, conferences coming up or training resources. They have a whole bunch of different content on fundraising, advocacy, campaigning, community outreach, etc. So there are 2 different types of engagement that you can have with them. One's actually being an organisation member of the network, or you can be also an affiliate. So I think I'll send you the resources there. I think you might be able to. All right, so I'm assuming that a lot of people from the room know what we do, but so we're an advocacy organisation. We protect the Yarra River. We advocate, for like clean water, having access to the river, that people connect with them. Our mission statement is your Yarra and tributaries healthy, protected and loved. Because if you have a really healthy Yarra, but you've got the Mary Creek and all the tributaries feeding a lot of litter, it's not going to work. And our type of work, it goes from advocacy, but also on ground projects. So we have regeneration projects, lots of cleanups, litter research. We have done a whole bunch of research on polystyrene, which is really good because there's not a lot out there, and we found that that's the main polluting in terms of plastic. We don't have any volunteers, like recurrent volunteer program. At the moment, I will say we have over 200 registrations to volunteer with us. We're working on engagement this year, so we got lots of people in, but we're kind of like getting that engagement back after COVID. But yeah, every day I see like new registrations, so people like, I want to come and volunteer. So we got a system, and I will share that in the next couple of slides. What are you doing? It's like, I don't really know. It's like, okay, we need to get an internship program. Yeah, no, it was just really funny because it's like, why, like, who is this guy? Like, okay, we need to get a program then. So from one intern, we ended up having, I think so far we have had over 10 interns with us, like in the past 2 years, working in different projects like green accounting, doing research. I had a couple of volunteers and interns helping me with the whole like business corporate partnerships model that we were working on. So from community engagement to research to all the things, so it's been pretty diversified. And all the things to consider as well is that we are DGR, we have DGR status, so we can accept donations, we can have memberships, we basically gift recipients, which opens the door to many different things, like from getting donations from corporates, getting just retail donations just from general public, to applying for grants. So what happened is that in 2020, we had a big grant that changed a lot of kind of like the capacity of the organisation to become more professional and have staff allocated to different activities. So we had funding from the federal government, which is about $500,000, and that was great. But then, well, I pretty much knew, got 2.5 years to build this $500,000 into like a constant revenue source that I'm not running out of it in June. I can actually have a continuity on funding. As I mentioned, we started retired last year, and we had to work in the whole succession planning, which is quite new for the organisation itself. And we were pretty lucky that we found someone super passionate that she lives in Warrandyte. She's been kayaking and canoeing and like enjoying and connecting with the river for many, many years. So her work is pretty much influencing government to change policy, to bring funding into organisation as well. And that's another thing that we're trying to like see how we can connect with different policy documents out there, like Healthy Waterways strategy, the Yarra Act, and all the things that the government sort of commits certain funding, and then it has to give to communities. So then we can have, hey, we're already doing work here. We need $200,000 for this. Please give us the money. So we're quite working on that space now with the federal election and the state's elections too, so we can bring that political commitment. We have to engage with every single party, even if we don't like them as much, because we drive our own agenda, which is the river agenda, and we have to talk to everyone, and that's the thing. We have to take, Josh Frydenberg on the board, and we know that not a lot of people like him right now, but that's okay.
You know where the bung is?
What?
You know where the bung is at the back of the boat? So.
We'll get rid of the, like this. Anyway, so how this kind of been working for us is that there's a lot of legislation out right now that supports consultancy firm to like run their own kind of recommendations of where they actually write controls for the whole Yarra. I brought one of those reports there as well. So we pretty much like stepped in and say, well, you're not going to do the work, we're going to get it done, and then we're going to bring you in to say, well, yeah, we should actually do it. So that's how like the planning controls came into the picture, that we were pretty much a key player, that we didn't really wait for them to get the act together. We just presented the whole information to them with professional kind of sources, that it was actually a piece of evidence for us to present. And that's something that we have been pretty strong in terms of all the work that we do has to be evidence-based. And from the research that we do in plastics, you know, counting each piece of polystyrene and saying this is how much we expect, to hiring like a planning control firm that they're all planners and they know what they're doing. And once we got to council, like they can't say, well, where do you get that from? Other catchments can maybe use that. At the moment, we're actually having some work in the west. So we have a Maribyrnong River officer that hopefully might be a river keeper, because you know, if you don't have a healthy Maribyrnong, it's going to impact your Yarra as well. But then what's happening is that they don't have anything, so they pretty much start from scratch. They just had released the waterways of the west, but there's no planning controls. There's lots of buildings being built in Footscray, you know, Kensington, next to the river. There's a whole bunch of issues with that. And I think what we want to push is like, well, we have all these things happening in the Yarra, why are we not having the same in the west? Like, it's basically a bit discriminating in terms of what we have. That's roughly like our structure, so how we work. We have a board, we have a few committees that now are getting kind of reframed. I work with Charlotte, so pretty much a core leadership role that we work together. And then you have your team, your staff of people working in different areas like regen, litter, Maribyrnong River officer, comms, engagement, etc. Then a couple of things too that we started working on in 2020, pretty much the whole like communication aspects. There was no communication plan, there was no social media strategy, no guidelines. The website was a bit shocking, it was a bit of shame. It was pretty much outdated, but we brought some people in to work on this. And now this is what we have. So we have a really nice website. I just took that photo from my phone, but you can go and have a look at it. With Instagram, it's the same. So we started with 900 followers, really low engagement, pretty much the same people commenting the same stuff, no growth. There's no plan. It's pretty much Andrew Kelly shooting photos of dead eels and then putting them up on the Instagram, and I had to tell him like, please stop. Because then we realized that you can still bring your message, but you have to be super clear how you deliver the message. That has to be engaging, has to be inviting. If you put a dead eel, I don't think a lot of people are going to engage with that. You can still share the story of the eel, you know, suffering in a different way that's going to create better positive engagement. So we did that, and yeah, from 900 we're now almost like in 2,300 guideline to tell them like the type of voice that we have, the type of content they can create, so they can have those prompts there that makes it super easier and also consistent, because that's the thing, you have to be super consistent. How we apply for grants. So we have a whole system as well to coordinate with different people. So you've got allocations of tasks, who's working on different grants, when are they due, which area are they going to be allocated to, etc. So we implemented really nice internal systems that kind of allow us to work remotely, you know, through COVID, that we're still like applying for grants and getting, I think we got it was like 300,000 grants in the past financial. And that was great because we were like, keep on bringing the money in. We didn't have just someone, like one person working on fundraising or grants. We actually had the whole team applying for grants, and that brought the game up in terms of being capable of applying for many, many things at the same time. And yes, I already mentioned, we have different internal systems. So financially, from managing your membership. So the whole idea is that we wanted to make it engaging, that people were like finding the membership process and application easier. We use Apricot. While I don't like it a lot, I think that's the best out there for like what you want. We did have a couple of extra things like donate. So since the change to the website and then the donation experience, we had that growth. Same with volunteers. So we had that software there, which is called Wallaby, and you outsource pretty much the whole onboarding system. That it's pretty remote and like less admin. So they go through all the steps of applying for a volunteer application, and then they do the onboarding. You give them a pack, you know, for like policies and things. They go and read it on their own time. They declare, I have read all the things, and then they go making it more consistent as well. And in terms of grants, I had a look, and I think the better one for you will be this one from Melbourne Water. So they just released a granting program, which is called the Livable Communities Livable Waterways Program, that anyone next to a waterway can apply for this. I think there's a couple of conditions, but I think a community group can apply for this anyway. Worst case scenario, you can always like fall into an auspicing agreement, but that's fine. We actually have auspicing agreements, so if you want to apply for this, we can auspice you. And the things like this is pretty much if you want to get $5,000 for like planting work or litter or cleanups, super easy to apply for this. It's not hard to fill the forms, you know, put the budgets in. If you apply for like 10K, I think under 10K, you will get it pretty easily. If you go more than 20, you'll have to supply more information, but you could apply for like different grants with them. Or interest from council, you have to be noisy. So if council doesn't really pay attention, you have to do your own work, create that community outreach that you have the presence, yet, you know, the taxpayers to kind of promote your work and kind of like have that support from them. So then once you go to council, say, well, we got 20,000 signatures from all the community looking into this project. So then council has to actually look at it. So you could do letter writing. You can also partner with another organisation or all the organisations working on that space into a coalition. So if we're working in a clean water campaign, you might want to have but also have a look at what you have locally. So it's a whole bunch of different strategies locally that you can sort of grab and see how you can match those deliverables that different organisations and agencies have committed to, and ask them to get them done. So you got the biodiversity action plan from Frankston City Council. I'm pretty sure you can actually find things there that you can say, well, you have committed to this action plan. This that we're offering here as a project actually matches, you know, your objectives of the plan. Because if you do that, then council actually has to go and have a look and see how they can, well, is this a priority thing? No, well, then you come with community and say, well, we actually want that, so you have to actually do it. Or even like different like planning documents online. I think they actually have that vision plan that was like 2021 from Frankston City Council. They launched that. So it's pretty much so you have to bring them and make them accountable if they're committing to those documents, and you know they all look pretty and professional. So you need to make them now do it. And that's how like we do it. Like if we were working with City of Yarra, we read the whole like council strategy and we tell them like, well, I'm putting this project. This match what you want. It's a no-brainer. I bring the funding, you give me the permits, and that's it. And you leave us alone and we do the work. And that's been actually working really well for us. We got really good relationship with parks. Parks are really easy to deal with if you come with really good information on your hands. You know that you know what you're doing. You have paid either a professional to run a project or you have some sort of professional advice. That gives parks peace of mind that you're not going to plant pines, you know, next to the creek. That's been the main concern. But if you come with some sort of recommendation that looks good and you got your information from, I don't know, biodiversity plans and etc., then say, okay, looks good, do it. And yeah, I mean, for us, it's been way easier to deal with parks than council. Because council sees volunteers as liabilities. They're really reluctant on us running volunteer events, but parks pretty much open door after being delivering a couple of projects and it's like, okay, you know what you're doing? I'm not going to even bother you. Thank you so much for doing this work and good luck. Let us know when you come again.